Welcome to the Leafy Podcast, helping real estate investors and entrepreneurs grow. Say hello to your hosts, Jennifer Gligoric and Brian Price, founders of Leafy Legal Services, teaching you how to protect your assets, grow your business, and manage your wealth. Let's start the show.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Leafy Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Tammy, the podcast manager, and on the line with me, I have Jennifer Gligoric. She is the COO and founder of Leafy Legal Services, and she has an awesome guest with us today. So I'll just go ahead and pass it on to her. Hey, Jennifer, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. And hey, everybody there at the Leafy Podcast Nation that we're broadcasting to. We have someone who is a mindfulness expert. So, of course, you've been listening to the show, you know I'm very excited about it. So the person we're talking to today for 15 years lived in the big concrete jungle of New York City, and they were a monk. Now, they're not a monk now, but during that time, they had a personal journey and they learned a lot of really cool things. And he spent a career of talking and speaking with and helping drive cultural changes to increase productivity and to increase teamwork at some of the largest companies in the world. We're talking Google, Bank of America, Fortune 100 and 500 companies like Oracle. I mean, some really cool organizations have brought him to speak, and now we get to talk to him. So I just want us to give a really great welcome to Pandit Dasa, and that's PanditDasa.com. So welcome to the show, Pandit. I'm very excited to talk to you today.
Well, thank you, Jen. Thank you, Tammy, for having me on the show. I'm really excited to be able to have this conversation with you guys.
We are too, because right now things are just so nuts and we all need a lot more mindfulness. Even though so many of us are at home and doing very different things, it's been overwhelming. It's because we don't know. I mean, a lot of people feel like they had a good beat on things. You know, there's a good economy. We're working. We're getting out of that terrible depression. A lot of people were financially in straits for like the last 13 years and we're getting out of it. And now it's like, nobody feels like they have any control. There's all these scary things. And I think someone like you is great. So tell us, can we be more mindful throughout our day so we don't have overwhelm from all the stuff that's going on?
Well, I think that I want to kind of expand on one of the words that you said that we thought we had control. I think first of all, we have to come to the humble realization that we've never, ever had control of anything in our life. And one way, I know that may sound like an extreme statement. You're like, okay.
I get it.
But I'll give you a few examples that I help people understand that how we have very little control. First of all, do you have actual control over your heartbeat? Like, are you thinking that it should be beating right now? Like it's on automatic pilot.
No, but don't freak me out.
Yeah, right. So it's not like, okay, let me see. Oh my God, I got to press the button, make sure it keeps beating. No, we don't have to do that, right? Do you have any control over your digestion? Nope. It's kind of doing its own thing. Your respiration. No, it's kind of doing its own thing. The way the blood's flowing. So what inside of you do you have control over, right? Pretty much nothing. It's all on automatic pilot. It's just like the seasons are changing. It's just going on. Now, let's move a little further to understand control, right? How much control do you have over your thoughts? Like in the last 20 minutes, you probably had 20, 30 thoughts. Can you even remember the 20, 30 thoughts that we had? No, right? So that means we weren't even in control of what just went through our mind. Okay, now, how much are we in control of our emotions? Like if someone cuts you off while you're driving, are you tempted to, flip them the bird or something else? So that means we weren't really in control because they made us do it. Otherwise, it's not like on a great, great day and the sun is shining and it's breezy and you just want to put your hand out for no reason and, no. It's like so that somebody else control our mood and emotion. So when we talk about control, and I wasn't planning to talk about this because you mentioned the word, so I'm talking about it now, is that if we don't have control over what's happening up here and the rest of our body, how do we think in our right mind that we're going to be able to control what's happening out there?
Right? Yeah, but there's this weird dichotomy with that because at the same time, we do control our destinies. We do have choices that we make and we can choose like to flip that person the bird. It's a choice. You
Sure.
choose at that moment to just become insanely enraged. But then there's all these other choices, like how enraged do I really want to get? What if they have a gun? This is just, they just cut me off in the car. I'm still healthy. I'm still going, blow it off at this point. Right. So like healthy people do make certain choices in their life. So, and it's a terrible feeling to feel like, so how do you mesh together the idea that we really don't have much control over everything, especially not the world at large and what's going on, with the fact that there are some things that are under our control. And if we don't control those, we're going to not have as good of experience on this planet as the people who do take responsibility for their happiness and their the world that they live in. Because you can see two brothers and sisters, they grow up in the exact same environment, the exact same thing. And one will say, oh, it was idyllic. And the other one will be like, I was in constant misery. But that's not, it's not actually true. There's what this person thought and this person thought and what actually happened. And it was their reactions and their personalities and their choices that made it different.
No, yeah, exactly. So there are a lot of things we can't control. And sometimes we just think that we can control more than what we really can. And then therefore, sometimes we try to end up controlling people. And that's a project that's going to lead to failure pretty fast. So it's almost like we try to change others before we try to change ourselves. Even changing our own behavioral patterns is such a difficult thing. Like, I'm sure most of us still have habits and tendencies that we're not proud of, that we've had since childhood. We carry them with us because it's been hard to let go of them. Now, if we can't change our own selves that much, and we can to some degree, then how do we go about changing others? And so I think really it's about acceptance of what is happening in our reality. So for example, for right now, we're going through this pandemic, and of course all the racial injustice and racial violence and the racial tensions that are, occupying all of us right now. And so how do we deal with all of that? First of all, it's happening. Yeah, 13 years ago, we had one problem and now there's another. And you know what? 10, 12 years from now, there's going to be another one. Like when a hurricane or a storm or a tornado is around the corner, then you just prepare for it. Because one thing that doesn't help anything is just to complain about it when it shows up. It's better for us to be prepared for it. And life is the biggest constant in life is change. We are not the same human being, exactly not the same human being that we were 10 years ago, or that we were 20 years ago, or when we were 5 years old, thank goodness, right? So we're not the same person. We've changed so much, and change is always happening. And it's all about understanding that whatever change is happening, true that it'll probably make us uncomfortable, especially changes that we have no say in, changes that happen to us without us wanting them or without us planning for them, like the pandemic. Those kinds of changes make us uncomfortable because, we just want life to go back to normal as soon as possible, but that's just really out of our control. It may not happen for another 6 months or a year, realistically. And so what do we do in that moment? I think during these difficult moments, it's a great time to introspect, be more mindful, practice mindfulness, and understand, I can't control this, but I can control how I learn and grow from this situation. Because every problem, every challenge, every obstacle, if it's handled and seen in the right way, can help us mature and grow wiser through that. I mean, if you think about it, every hardship that we've had in our life, if we were to just remove all of them from our life, let's just say we could go back and just edit it out like a video. Okay, I'm going to remove this one, this heartbreak, that financial loss, that move, that whatever. Okay, I removed them all. Do we really think we'd be as mature and wise a human being right now as we would be if none of that had happened? And
No.
Right? And so now you ask yourself, if you could go back and take out that broken heart, that bankruptcy, or that foreclosure, or the loss of a car, or a person, or a dog, or whatever, would you just say, yeah, no, don't take that out? Yes, in one sense, you'd be like, maybe, but I'm not sure, because look where I am now because of it. So all of those things, it's almost like if you don't pass one test in school, you can't get to the next grade. So this is all of these things that happen in our life. I think we have to shift our mindset to be able to see them as tests that life is throwing into our journey. And when we pass them, then we can graduate to the next level, We don't want to stay in high school forever. We want to graduate and go on and move on.
Boy, this is a deep conversation. I was having a conversation with someone about this, and I felt my personal feeling was that they were stuck in resentment, and that they are never get, if you just constantly think that I've never made a mistake, or the mistakes I made were always a direct result of someone else doing it, and if that person didn't do it, everything would be better. Everything would be better. And I'm like, at one point, that's just it's gonna kill you. Because then you're just in such a victim mindset. At that point, you'll never get forward. And so I'm seeing a lot of that now. And there's this no pushback against it. There's not someone saying, well, actually, no, because you have other people that are in the similar circumstances and they thrive. So your experience has something to do with you. And how you look at it, that's a tough thing to have. It used to be easier to have that conversation, I believe, with people, and where they would sit back and they would think about it, and then they would feel a sense of empowerment of these things are going to happen, and I won't be able to control pandemics. I won't be able to control politics and major losses and war and the things that we're seeing now. But what I can control is me. Well, and how I react to them, and if I can grow from them. Just like you were saying, I wish that we could have more louder conversations about that instead of the angry ones that we have, because at the root of everyone shouting, there's a solution to the problem that's a lot easier, a lot less heartbreak, and it comes from love rather than hate. So like, how do we get to that? So I don't know, that was pretty off topic. Everybody's in the car driving, listening, going, this is not what we're normally hearing, but yeah.
No, but I think that one important thing in terms of mindfulness, and that's what I'm really teaching, is that we have to stop playing the blame game, because the blame game is such that it's a really interesting thing that happens in our mind when we start playing the blame game, is that it never ends. It's an unlimited game. Because you can always find other things and people to blame for our misery and for our situation. The mind is just, it's an interesting thing where it always, once you start blaming, what you're doing is you're pointing away from you. And I remember one very senior monk passed away a while back. He said that every time you're pointing a finger towards someone else, there's another 3 pointing right back at you, like these 3. So that, it's like the more we play the blame game, the more people we find to blame. And then that's preventing us from looking to ourselves and seeing, what did I do to contribute to this problem? What did I do to contribute to this situation? Well, the pandemic, I had nothing to do with it. We all have something to do with everything here. I mean, let's look at I know it's getting maybe off topic, but look at our own carbon footprint. Right now, there's less smog than ever before on the planet, And if you look at it like, the consumption of meat products is also a part of the problem. I mean, that's where it kind of all started, right? So, I mean, like, we have to just look at our own lives. Like, how am I contributing to all the problems that are happening? And there are some things I can do now. So what we need to really be able to do is stop blaming and start looking at our own selves. How do I change myself after this is over? How can I live a more carbon free footprint lifestyle after this? What can I do to be a better human being, one that makes a positive contribution to my family, to my colleagues, to my friends, to my society? And what do I need to do to change my life? And again, we like our comfort. We love our comforts. We don't want to part with them. But, in order to achieve something positive, some discomfort does have to be experienced.
Oh, I think so. Because on the flip side, for the entrepreneurial side, the investor side, there are many investors now going, wow, I didn't realize our supply chain was so broken. And that, look at how many jobs and things we don't have right now. And we have military age men from the age of 17 to 35. They're rioting, they're angry, they feel like they have no hope. And that's not just our country. You've got Yellow Vest, you've got ISIS, you've got people all over the planet now in this demographic, and they feel like they do not have the basic right and dignity to be able to afford a job that pays for a family that they can support and they can be good citizens. At the heart of every radicalized young male is that complaint. I can't do it. It's being prevented from me. So when you look at that and then you realize, well, we do have these broken supply chains. We do have ways to bring back things to give these disaffected people who are causing so much anger and rioting and stuff like in radicalization a chance to feel as if they are contributing and feel as if they are worthy and they have respect and they're able to raise a family and they're able to get what they feel is an inalienable right for them to do it. So now it's opened up this painful time has opened up all these possibilities. You know, you have breweries and distilleries that are now making sanitizer, you know, and you can be against sanitizer, you can be against breweries, but hey, they've made a pivot. You know, there are ways to pivot things. You know, I've ran a virtual companies for over a decade because I didn't want to add to carbon emissions. And I know a lot of people who survive, you know, working with doctors and especially chronic pain doctors, anesthesiologists back in the day, a long time ago. I met people who were surviving wrecks and diseases that would have killed them 5 years before, but they couldn't sit in a car and a commute for 2 hours, much less be in an office like that. They need to have rest. Or the people who need caretaking, or people that have these incredible degrees, they go to work and they're like, I just really want to be a stay-at-home dad or stay-at-home mom. I'm not aligned to this. I think my greatest glory on this planet is going to be able to raise children. But yet I have this experience. I can still work. I still want to do that. Well, we're seeing now that, hey, we can do that. We have a broken school system. Yeah. How many kids are thriving? My own child has thrived. His homework for the whole week was done by Tuesday. And then he created an entire garden in our backyard, a sustainable garden and all this other stuff like that. And I'm hearing stories from clients all over the country who are saying the same thing about their kids. You know, do we really need this institutionalized system that has really not been working for quite some time? We complain about it. You know, that would be like impossible to think of all these people homeschooling their kids. It was going to be this terrible, terrible thing we had to get through, but it really wasn't for many people. Yeah. I hope that changes things. I mean, there's so much positivity, you're right, in this time for the people who want to be mindful and go, hey, this is pretty good. This is a difference. I'm happier now in some ways, some ways not so much financially and others, but what do I really need? I think that's another thing, mindfulness.
What I need and what can I learn? Something new that I can learn. And, you know, one of the things that I'm just sort of teaching right now, and because I'm doing a lot of virtual sessions, because I used to do this on stage speeches, but now it's all virtual, is really teaching, you know, because people are very uncertain and anxious right now. So, you know, there's a lot of research that shows that mindfulness can actually help lower stress. So while we are figuring things out, while we're dealing with this uncertainty, you know, these practices are simple. They can be done at home. You know, they're breathing exercise. They can help lower stress. They can help lower anxiety. They can help boost emotional intelligence, you know, and all of that ultimately leads to improved health. If we have, you know, I like to compare the mind to a smart device because, you know, when you close out all the apps on your smart device, it works better. And so, you know, when in our mind, we have so many apps open, which are basically a lot of anxious thoughts, worries about the future, remembering negative things from the past. Like, I'm sure we've all done this where we had an argument with someone and we start replaying that in our head over and over again. Yeah. And we stress ourselves out again and again every time we replay it. And I'm like, that doesn't need to happen. You can actually press the pause button in your mind. Just like press pause. That's it. Just say, I'm not entertaining this thought. We're stopping it right here. And so this is part of what I'm training, because sometimes our mind can also be like, oh my God, what if this takes another 3 months? What if it takes 6? Okay. What if? Press pause and go back to doing what you're doing now. And that really, imagine how much energy is just saved by learning to press pause on your mind and the negative thoughts that happen. How much emotional energy and how much time you save. And so like folks that are trying to be productive, this is a very powerful way of being productive. So mindfulness is helping us kind of train our mindset, lower stress, lower anxiety, improve productivity, boost emotional intelligence. It's helping us be able to communicate with one another better, understand each other's perspective. It's helping us develop a little bit more empathy, which we need right now with all that, so many else so many other things that are going on. And it's not.
Can you give us some examples of mindfulness exercises that maybe we could do now to help us train each other, that are some easy ones that we could do?
Yeah, for sure. So a lot of them just basically involve deep breathing exercises. They're not spiritual. I mean, they may originally be rooted in some spiritual tradition, but this is all secular practices and research that's showing that they help. So a lot of them involve deep breathing exercises, really just being able to take like 10 deep breaths, and, you could take like a really deep breath where you're filling up your lungs completely, and really fill the lungs up completely. And that's also giving the lungs a workout, because that's where COVID can also impact the lungs. So this is also not just good for our mind, where it gives clarity to the mind, it helps close out the apps, but also gives the lungs a workout. Like if you look at your breath right now, it's super shallow. It's not like that took a good couple seconds to do that. Otherwise, it's kind of happening automatically. So this deep breathing helps clear our mind, but it's also strengthening our lungs. And we need to strengthen our lungs now in case we happen to contract it somehow or other. So you can take 10 deep breaths and exhale. And what that does is really it just clears out the mind. It lets go of the tension that you're holding in your body. And you can also think of different parts of your body as you're exhaling. Like you're releasing the tension from that part. So when I guide it, I do a sort of a scan where I say that when you exhale for the first time, release any tension in your forehead, your eyes, your face, your mouth, your jaw. And then the next deep breath in and exhale, you release tension from your shoulders and neck, because there's so much tension in our neck and shoulders. And the next one, your upper torso, your lower torso. And then you take a moment to feel grateful for a few things that are happening in your life right now, simple things that are happening in your life, and appreciate someone who you get along with and wish them well, and appreciate someone you don't get along with and wish them well. Because we need to shift our mindset towards people we don't get along with. Otherwise, we hold on to that negativity way too long and it affects only us.
Yes, that's such a good one. Because now it's just like, well, I hate those people. And you're like, God, really? All those people, like who are even those people, right? Just let that go. Because when you actually get into conversations with another individual, you're able to see the beauty in them, even if you think their ideas are bat crap crazy. Yeah. You can still appreciate something. Maybe they put together an incredible outfit, or maybe they said something kind, or maybe a butterfly was just like around them, and now you have a good, that conversation is not unhappy because that happened. There's always something to be gained from when you actually connect with people. I think the disconnection, if you're just disconnected, angry at whatever, and I'm guilty of it too. I find myself doing that too, and I never feel good when I let it spiral off into this, they're ruining the world. I know those words have come out of my mouth, right?
Yeah.
That's not good. That's not good.
Just imagine, like, if you're in a workplace environment and you don't get along with a colleague and you have this weekly meeting with them or constant collaboration. And what's happening is, if we're choosing not to shift our mindset towards them, you're basically also closing off your mind to their ideas, which could be valuable for you to complete your project, or which could be valuable for the company to move forward. So when we have a negative mindset, just know that internally, we have actually closed our mind towards that human being. And now it could affect collaboration and further progress. So we have to shift our mindset towards people that we're around all the time, colleagues or family members.
That's hard. Especially if you're always butting heads and there's politics, or, you feel like they've, done you wrong or stabbed you in the back. Boy, that's a difficult one. That's not an easy thing to do.
No,
and I think,
but if we like a challenge in our life, then I'm going to throw this challenge out to everyone. Okay. That go ahead, challenge yourself to do the right thing, to have a positive mindset, even towards people you don't get along with. Like, take it on. Not like, oh my God, what? No, take it on like, yeah, I'm going to try for it. Why not?
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, guys, we've been talking to Pandit Dasa. So you can go to PanditDasa, panditdasa.com. And we've been learning about mindfulness and mind shifts. And it's a lot more than just some like feel good stuff. It actually is helpful. If we do these breathing exercises, we can strengthen our lungs, we can strengthen our mind, let go, release all this tension. And it can even help us in our work relationships. And who knows, maybe that person that you just can't stand, if you make this little shift, you can get into a project, finish the project, and you'll be the ultimate team player, figured out something that never would have been possible before, which is incredible. So I want to thank you, Pandit, for being on the show. And Tammy, it's now our time. We're gonna have to take it takes away. But before we do, Pandit, is there anything you want to give, or a website, or anything you would like besides that challenge, which was a very good challenge, to give our Leafy podcast listeners?
Well, one thing is, well, two things. One is that the breathing exercise that I talked about, if you just do them for 2 to 3 minutes a day, it doesn't have to be a long, drawn out 15, 20-minute meditation. 2 to 3 minutes. Look, you have 3 meals a day. Why not do 2 to 3 minutes of just deep breathing exercises 3 times a day? Like, that's 6 minutes. If we can't spare 6 minutes in our day, I think we just need to reevaluate our entire life and everything that we've learned so far. So that's one thing. 2 to 3 minutes, a couple times a day, before a difficult moment, or before you go to sleep, or before you start the day. And also, I'm very active on LinkedIn. I do a lot of posting of positive messages, mindfulness messages that we can apply into our daily life on LinkedIn. That you can just look it up through my name, Pandit Dasa, and I'm happy to connect there and answer any questions that people may have at some point in the future.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much again, Pandit, for being with us today. And I really enjoy all of the mindfulness mindset and, thinking positively. So I'll find you on LinkedIn after this so we can connect. And I will have all of his links in our show notes so that you will be able to find him. Also, thank you, Jennifer, for being our host today. And if you are looking for Leafy Podcast, we are on all platforms at Leafy Legal. If you have any questions for the show, or you have any guests that you would like us to consider, please send me an email. It is Tammy, Tammy, at leafylegalservices.com. Thank you again for joining us and listening in today. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Attention real estate investors and entrepreneurs. Did you know that real estate investors are a primary target for lawsuits? According to the National Survey of the Court data, 25% of Americans risk being sued in their lifetime. However, if you are a real estate investor, you have a 95% chance of being sued in the next 20 years. Leafy Legal Services helps you protect your assets and strategically grow your business and wealth. Leafy Legal Services are experts at the Series LLC and Delaware Statutory Trust, two of the newest and most ideal legal structures for real estate investors. Leafy Legal Services have the most personalized and affordable solutions for setting up LLCs. Property owners are always at risk when it comes to their assets. Anonymity is so important. If you own just a rental house and you own your home, you have to protect yourself and your properties from any potential legal issues. Leafy Legal Services have the right solutions to make sure you are happy and feel secure. They offer cost-effective documentation that suits their clients' needs. For a free consultation and ebook, visit leafylegalservices.com. They are waiting to hear from you. leafylegalservices.com.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Don't wait. Take action now. LeafyLegalServices.com. Protect your assets, grow your business, and manage your wealth.
Bye.